Time keeps on leaving and we keep on moving. When do we pass on our wisdom to the youth? My veteran story, lost arts discussions, fireside chats with a bourbon or two. It's time to hear the stories by military veterans. Get yourself ready. It's the Lost Arts Podcast. The Lost Arts with Andrew Cox.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lost Art Podcast, a podcast giving a voice to our veterans. On today's episode, we have Marine veteran Corbin Thorley on the program. I'm excited to hear her story. It's been a while since we caught up, so this should be a really outstanding time together. But if you're enjoying these podcasts as much as I'm enjoying them, go to thelostart.podbean.com. Click on that merchandise tab, get you a hat, get you a shirt, get you something cool, and help us get our veteran voices out for all to hear. All right, with that, I got Corbin here. Corbin, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Really excited and just I love your programming. I've had the opportunity to listen to some of these veteran stories and fireside chats, and I'm privileged to be joining you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. Last time we were together was at Camp Pendleton, First Part Div, enjoying our time there. So, yeah, I'm excited to hear what you got to say about your story here.
Thank you. So I'm originally from San Antonio, Texas. Well, actually, a small town north of that. I claim San Antonio, though. New Braunfels is where I'm from. I joined the military as a drummer. There's not many women who are, I think there's a few more of us now, but at the time, I was the first woman to have joined in like the span of 10 years or something like that. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. The reason why I joined is I had a significant other who was in the infantry, Marine Corps infantry at the time. And I am so sorry, I got to silence my phone. So I went out to boot camp, December of 2008. And I was what you would call a stanchion recruit, I think is what somebody called me. I kept that you would kind of blend in with the stanchions, right? The pillars that were in. Yep. I kept my head down and it was just, I wanted to get through it. So I apologize if I'm bouncing around a little bit, but I was a percussionist since I was like 12 years old and had no idea that military music was really, and I had no idea what it entailed either. Until it was time for me to step on the yellow footprints and figure out that it was going to be a ride. But I did it all, did percussion all through high school. Wasn't very good at drum set. And so when I got out of boot camp and went to the School of Music for our A school, that was a smack in the face. I'm trying to be light with my words, but
no, it's all good. So, well, I will tell you, most drummers, when they show up to the schoolhouse, because drum set is rated so heavily, most everybody doesn't play drum set, or at least the people that are coming in for some sort of wind ensemble or whatever.
Yeah.
So drum set's not the number one go-to, so I can completely understand that.
Yeah. So I was in the practice room for a long time trying to familiarize myself with what a drum set was like, what I was supposed to be doing. There's so many different styles that you're supposed to be familiar with. So just a lot of immersion in that. And that was probably one of the coolest experiences as a military music professional, because how many people get paid to practice? Just, collect a paycheck, get free medical and dental, just to sit in a practice room for 6 hours a day, right? So yeah, that was really cool. But while I was there, my significant other found somebody else who was significant, and the warrant officer Jacob, I think, Chief Warrant Officer 5, yeah. He knew I was brokenhearted, so he said, I'm going to send you far away where you two can never see each other again, because he was over on Camp Pendleton at the time. So I got sent to Okinawa Japan.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So when he meant it. And when I got there to Japan, when I graduated the schoolhouse, that was culture shock. I
Yeah.
mean, Marine Corps fleet and a different country, complete culture shock. I don't know how much I'm supposed to explain to maybe some non-veteran listeners, but the structure of your workday is very different. That's all I'll say. I can't, different, like you have your rehearsals, you have your commitments. Okinawa, when you go off base, they speak a different language. You're driving on a different side of the road out there. But I was very fortunate when I got out there. And I'm used to working with men as it is, because all through high school there wasn't many women drummers, and being at the School of Music, I was the only one, and I was the only one here, but I got along with my section really well, and I was super fortunate to have the camaraderie with the section, and that will seem to be a theme probably for 75% of what I talk about with my story, so to speak, because I had some really difficult leadership up until towards the end of my military career. It was pretty tough. So I got to the fleet and I got acclimated to some amazing percussionists, but mental health was an issue out there because you were so far away from home. And I feel like some of these could be chapters within themselves. But we did, one of my section leaders at the time ended up committing suicide out there. It was extremely difficult because it was, how do I articulate the gentlest? It's kind of, pointing fingers at different people. It's your fault. It was your fault. Well, you didn't do this and you didn't do that. And I'm glad where we have come now from, 2000, it was about 2009 by this point to, 2023. We've come a long way as far as mental health is concerned and how we treat it in the military. But back then, someone had to be blamed. And that was a crazy time. But I really, especially after that, and it was, a drummer, like 2 or 3 months after I got into the fleet that happened. I would say that platoon of musicians, we just really all leaned on each other, and we were a very strong force, very strong camaraderie to each other. I mean, even today, I would say I'm still pretty close with a few of those people, but we had a leadership turnover, and I can't say that it was, like things got a lot better. And people rotate out of Okinawa so much too. But aside from all of that, like the craziness with your leadership, right? Because you're going to have bosses that you don't like, and you're going to have people that you don't get along with. We got to travel the world. Yeah, literally. So, we went up to Tokyo. I got to go to Thailand, Guam, Iwakuni, which is on the mainland where Tokyo is. What else did we do? Man, they had people do exercises out there.
I imagine you guys did the Iwo Jima thing. Do they do that every year still?
It was a really significant year. I can't remember if that was the 75th year when I was there. They had the President's Own go out. But the following year, they had a small detachment. But I was only out there for 2 years, and then I got orders to Cherry Point. But I had a blast in Japan. just that opportunity that,
I'm gonna ask a question. Think back, right? You say you show up, it's a culture shock for you.
yeah.
How did you kind of, I guess, get over the hump of that culture shock?
Yes, I did. And I learned some of the language so I could get around in a honcho and a taxi. I definitely went out and saw the island. My husband, he came, I think, 4 or 5 years after I did, and he stayed in his barracks room the whole time, had a terrible experience.
Oh, really?
I'm like, well, you didn't go out and see the island. Like you
Yeah.
have to go out and just take. That's another thing that I loved about the Marine Corps and about the military. Like, take advantage of where you are at, because you may never get the opportunity to do that again, right? I'm not going to go to Japan. I mean, my son really wants to go now because he's heard that I've been out there. But yeah, just I took advantage of the food, all of the culture that was out there, the beaches. It was just a phenomenal time. And regardless of what we all had going on, it was you lean on each other, and then you lean on those experiences for sure.
Yeah.
Being somewhere else together. So
being in a unit where you did have a suicide, how was that for you as an individual, kind of getting through that? And then also, how was the unit? Did they what helped you guys move past that?
So I didn't hear the first part of that question. I apologize.
Sorry. What helped you personally kind of get over and be able to push on, and then also what helped the unit to do the same thing?
So with me trying to get through it, that was quite a struggle. I want to say probably until the end of my military career, just kind of going back and forth with it, especially like when the anniversary would come around, because that person wanted the world to hurt when he left. And so I kind of leveraged that anger, like, oh, I'm not going to be that person. But at the same time, I absolutely was. And it was a very sad thing that this person did that to themselves, because of everything that they missed. They don't get to have children. They don't get to walk out their wife or their loved one down the aisle. And I think now, stepping away from it, I'm more on that side than I'm not going to feel anything, right? But how we got through it as a unit, it was because everybody above us, it felt like they were playing a blame game. And I don't know a whole lot about the protocols of what happens when that goes on. So I can't fathom what those people up at the top have to go through, especially working with colonels now and watching them having to reason with things. I cannot. But it unified us because it became more of, we're going to look out for each other at all costs, no matter what we're going through, no matter how bad we think we might have it in that moment. We don't know this other person's story and where they're coming from, and they are equally as important.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, I like that. And you say you spent 2 years total in Oki. And then what would you say your favorite part about being there was?
Oh man.
I know, I'm shotgun.
Yeah, that's hard because there's so many things that I loved about being out there. The food, the fact that they make you go to McDonald's, your burger's going to look like the picture, right? They're going to be running around to accommodate you, just because that's how they show face. That's their service. That's just the type of people that they are. I think it would have to definitely be like the culture. and just the beauty too, where our barracks stood, I could always see the ocean.
Oh, wow.
I told myself I would never take that for granted. And, walking up the hill and down the hill to the band hall every single day up until the last day where it was the morning I was walking down to get on the plane to leave Okinawa for good. I looked out at the sea and I said, I told myself I didn't take this for granted. This is beautiful.
Yeah.
I loved every moment.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing the ocean from my barracks room when I was there.
Where were y'all? If you recall.
We're up on the hill, but we weren't like at the very top. So it was like as you're going up the hill, and then there's like a 7
To the right. Yeah. Yeah. They had us there for a little while, but then they put us over by that other gate. I don't know if there was
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that side.
Very nice.
So yeah.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Hopefully it was better than where I was at. Although it wasn't bad. It's just, I would say it's 5-star resort. That's for sure.
For a time, I think some of us didn't have any beds.
Wow.
Yeah, it got a little ridiculous at time. I don't miss field day at all. Good night. That was, I had is it Master Gun's mic or is it top mic? Okay.
He
was our drum major at the time. And he would tell us to vacuum ourselves. He would encourage us to vacuum ourselves out of our room. Yeah. And so like, even as I'm leaving for the day today, I'm just like, I'm so glad I'm not doing that anymore. No way. I mean, so I have at home, I have an 11-year-old, a almost 6-year-old, and a 3-month-old.
Yeah.
It looks like the Toys R Us giraffes threw up in our living room just constantly. Yeah.
I understand that completely. Yeah.
And it never gets any better. And anywho, I'm the mess anyway. So yeah, from Okinawa, we went to Cherry Point. We were at Cherry Point I was at Cherry Point for a very long time. I got married, and let's see. So Cherry Point is in Havelock, North Carolina, which is a tiny town, sandwiched in between New Bern and Morehead City. Morehead City is like a beach town. New Bern is like the colonial area, beautiful retirement area. But there's not a whole lot to see in comparison. But so I suppose it was kind of a similar situation, right? You all kind of lean on each other and develop a really strong relationship because there's not much else to do outside of that. Yeah. But I had my son, Caden, and then as far as traveling goes, leadership was kind of up and down as well. Master Guns, I will tell you that. That was sometimes that
happens.
Yep. So I would say in my career, I went through 8 band officers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I had like a whole spectrum, really.
Yeah.
So my spouse that I had my son with ended up, I always want to like resort to the angry talk. And I'm thankful that this is unscripted. But I'm trying to, because I don't know who could listen to this.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be gentle as possible. He fell to addiction, and I had no idea that he was struggling with that. And drug use. He was one of probably the top. He was also a drummer in the Marine Corps, and one of our top performers too. But I had no idea. And that was kind of a difficult setback because, and I did have some really good leadership up at the top who was very supportive. So this was 2011, 2012-ish, who they were very supportive of me and just how like to navigate all of that. But inevitably, he didn't really want to help himself. So I very quickly became a single parent of a 1-year-old. in the Marine Corps as a full-time musician too. And I'm thankful we didn't travel early on, like 2013, 15. We didn't travel a whole lot, but to kind of supplement that, November is birthday ball season for the Marine Corps band. And every day between like the end of October to the first week of December, we have a commitment every night, in our dress blues, that fancy uniform. And my son, so I had to do my part definitely for Uncle Sam. So my mom took my son for about a month and a half, and I just came home I would go back home to Texas on Christmas leave and pick them up. I did that for about 2 years. Yeah. Yeah. And that was just so I didn't have to worry. I didn't have to find a babysitter. I didn't have to work, your 8-hour, 10-hour day, come home, say hi, bye to my kid, and then go do that. So that was quite a blessing for them to be able to do that. And, I just kept pushing. I tried getting my son's dad help and putting him through the rehab too. It didn't stick. And it didn't help like we had hoped. And I've learned, like I said, I've learned so much about mental health in the last 15 years. Goodness. But so it was just my son and I for a few years out there. I'm trying to think of all the places that we went to. We did the Boston Marathon. That was a lot of fun. Fenway Park was out there too. I've done New Orleans, Mardi Gras. I think I did that twice, 2 or 3 times. What else? The Panthers game, and then I think they were the Charlotte Hornets I've played out there. I've done a couple of military tattoos, not the Virginia one, but the one up in I think it was Canton, Ohio. I think it's Canton, Ohio. No, Cleveland, the Cleveland tattoo.
Oh, Cleveland. Yeah. That's a good tattoo. I've been up there.
That was neat. And I loved it. Doing Fenway Park. So my dad, when I was in Okinawa, I would say, "Hey, Dad, I'm in Thailand. I'm playing for the ambassador of the USA and all of these foreign dignitaries." And he's like, "Oh yeah, great." We go up to Tokyo and we do Budokan, right? And I would say, "Well, Dad, all of these people are here. The Prime Minister to Japan is here, and yeah." But when I told him I was playing the national anthem at Fenway Park, he lost his mind. I'm like, that's it. This is what you get excited about. He's like, "My baby's playing at Fenway." I'm like, okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't think I was as nervous to play at Fenway as I was for those other foreign nationals either.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wouldn't trade those experiences. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else we did out there. I really enjoyed Havelock, and Cherry Point. That was such a great experience for my son. I think it was perfect for us, and just kind of what we needed to develop that small town feel. I had a band officer out there who he pulled me in and he was like, "Look, if you're out there, if you're here at work and you've been here for like 10 hours and your child is still at daycare, like, you have to find that balance," right? And it was so nice to have somebody that supported home and work life balance, because that was something, especially before I had kids, that was not heard that wasn't heard of. When I worked in Okinawa, that definitely wasn't heard of, because just of the operational tempo out there, like all of the commitments that we had. Yeah. So that was really refreshing, and it put a perspective in for me, as being a mom too. Because that's
I always say that the big green machine of the Marine Corps is to keep on rolling no matter what. But your family should be forever. So no matter what, you're going to get out, and hopefully your family's there with you. Like
Yeah.
that should be the ultimate goal. So
You told me that too whenever I got to the first Marine Division. You said that one day I'm going to take this uniform off and I'm not going to put it on again. Right. And what am I going to have after all that? But I ended up meeting my husband later on in my tour at Cherry Point. And one of our first dates, he was like, well, I'm going to be a pastor. Like, okay, I'm pretty big, right? I had no idea what I wanted to do when I got out of the military. Drum set was continuing to be a struggle, though. You have to we continually audition to meet that next rank requirement. And I knew it was going to get me at some point, but I was not going to let it. I wasn't going to let it bother me yet. I also was working in public affairs in those collateral duties. And I think as far as communication, military communication, correspondence, working with the public, that really exercised my ability to effectively communicate with people when we were scheduling like commitments and concerts and things. It was me behind the computer, making the phone calls and typing up the emails and stuff. So it really, really helped. As far as where I am today, it definitely shaped how I'm able to talk with people with such ease, right? I never had that skill before I joined the military. I was, there's some people that, and especially now in our day and age, that were like keyboard warriors, but people are afraid to pick up the phone and talk to each other. And when we need to get something done, how to say it tactfully. I learned a lot about tact too. So my husband and I got married a couple years after, or about a year after we started dating, I guess. It was kind of quick. But we got orders. I got orders to the 1st Marine Division in Camp Pendleton, California. And when I told my husband, because he was working at a church in New Bern at the time, and I said, hey, what do you think about 1st Mardiv? He's like, it's okay, I can commute. And he thought I meant 2nd. He thought I meant 2nd Mardiv. Yeah, I was like, are you sure about that? Like,
the other coast.
Yeah. And he's like, whoa, okay. He's like, I need to think about this. I was like, well, I know you need to think about it, but it's pretty much a done deal in the military. Like it's not like we get to say yes or no, right? So we went to San Diego in 2017, I think. And I quickly found out, I guess within a month of being there, that we were expecting our 2nd child. But that's where I met you and Miss Wire. And y'all gave me the biggest piece of advice I think I've ever gotten in my military career. We had I had a lot of ups and downs happening in my personal career, or my personal self, that affected my professional self for sure. It was very difficult for me to take on leadership roles, take on things that you're supposed to do as you grow in the ranks, and also leadership in some aspects also put dampers on that. I feel like, anyway. I mean, it went both ways for sure. But you told me, like you just said, one day you're going to take this uniform off. What are you going to have? And then Miss Wire told me, she said, if you find that you have to turn this light switch or the switch on and off as you're coming and going home, right? If you're having to be a different person when you come to work, you're going to be exhausted, burnt out, and people are going to pick up on that, like that falseness, or, that you're kind of being two-sided. And it resonated with me in such a way that it was just this dramatic and drastic change. And I can't explain it. I don't know why. I was almost in what, 9 years in my career, or 8 years, 9 years in my career, and a switch like that had never happened before, where it was like, okay, well, let me try something different, I guess, or let me just try to be this, not goofy, awkward. I mean, I am kind of goofy, but let me see how this plays out, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and for whatever reason, I was like, I found my stride, and I was surrounded by incredible leadership, incredible people just all around. Denzel Ivory. And I had what, Vance, I can't remember his first name.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Gunny Select, like it's gonna, um,
Yeah.
just, they, they led by example. They showed me how they can be themselves and also work hard at something. And I had a good word for it earlier too, and I lost it. Um, Maybe it'll come back to me, but
When it does, just spout it out.
I, when, before that time, people and maybe leadership and everywhere around, like the culture that I had been brought up was everything that I wasn't, right? Like, you're not this, you're not good enough, you don't have the score, you don't have this. And when I came to First Marine Division, it's, this is what you are, this is what you should be doing, and this is what you, so therefore you can, right?
Yeah.
And you will. And I did, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And just that turn of mindset, because that was the kind of culture that Jill fostered, was amazing, and it was just what I needed. So I had my daughter 9 months later. I got selected for staff sergeant, because I was able to kind of hook and jab along with all of that. And then we had, his name is Victor Ney now. He was Massar Ney at the time. I had him as a mentor for conducting, which was huge. And like I said
Very
before,
very proficient conductor.
yeah. Before, I wasn't one that would like want to get in front of a podium, but I knew I could. So, like I told y'all before, because you foster that environment, I was willing to try and just do it unafraid. I wouldn't say unapologetically, but it was because we were also supportive of each other, though, yeah. And then when Miss Wire went, I had you and Massar Van. And I think everybody needs a dual enlisted leadership at least once in their career, because it's fantastic. Definitely
That depends on who, what perspective you look at. So there were moments. I will say that.
Yeah, for sure. I had a blast though. In fact, one of my memories on Facebook that popped up today, we were in Paris.
Yeah.
Today, however many years ago, what, 4 or 5 years ago? That was 2019. Yeah. And just, that was unbelievable. You met, was his name Rob Lowe? That was in San Francisco.
Oh no, that's
I can't remember his name.
He does Dirty Job Micro.
Yep. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, Micro. Yeah.
San Francisco, France. What else did we do? Oh, I forgot. When I was in North Carolina, we did Bermuda.
Wow.
Yeah, that was really cool. What else did we do?
That's absolutely beautiful there.
What's that?
I said it's absolutely beautiful there.
Oh, it is. Yeah. 29 Palms. Vegas, I did the birthday balls out there.
Okay.
I think you can see Vegas, for anybody who hasn't been, you can see Vegas in maybe about 4 or 5 days. It's kind of all the same after that.
Yeah, that's true.
I spent 2 weeks out there. That was too long. but just the amount of growth that I had. And I know I keep going back to that and emphasizing it, but truly, and I think some of it had to do with the fact that, my things were good at home too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So,
I mean, at that time, your husband, he was still working toward being a pastor, right?
yes, yep. He was like the youth pastor over in San Clemente, which is north of Camp Pendleton. He was working on his master's degree. By that point, he had gotten his bachelor's in biblical studies. The military paid for that degree while he was in. He got those credits, and then he used his GI Bill for his master's. In fact, he's using the last bit of his GI Bill right now for his doctorate.
Oh wow.
In divinity. So, yeah.
So, and he wasn't the only, like while we were out there, somebody else that is now a chaplain.
Saxophone player, right? He's an army chaplain.
Yeah, I think, I can't remember his name. I cannot remember.
It's gonna bug me. I'll remember it tonight.
Yeah.
But yes,
So bad that I don't remember it right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's a chaplain now.
Yeah. I think he's an active duty Army chaplain, or is he Air Force?
I think it's hard.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure it is.
nice. So,
So your experience there with First Mar Div, obviously a little different than the other two places, right? What is it that, what is it there do you feel that was different than the other places? Was it the camaraderie amongst the people that was there, or what?
and I think so. The camaraderie, even though it was strong, very strong when we were in Okinawa, the camaraderie all the way to the top, all the way down. Having that made a huge difference. That we were all on the same page, the same team. Maybe we weren't on the same page all the time, but we were definitely on the same team, and
Yeah.
That helped. And then just being given the opportunities to make mistakes, even though I was not going, so help me, I was not about to make any. Having that opportunity meant a whole lot. And just the fact that, that those opportunities were given to anybody who was like, let me try.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like, well, I don't think you can, or, you haven't done this. It was just like, go, figure it out. Like the birthday ball was that 2019, doing the birthday ball message.
Oh yeah.
Not expecting that to go as well as it did, but I'm so glad that it did. I mean, just being given.
Talk about that a little bit. Like, how did you feel walking in and getting to do that? What was going through your mind?
Man. So my husband's cousin, Matthew's my husband, his cousin, has his degree in performing arts.
Okay.
He does acting, and he works in New York. He's trying to get a gig on Broadway. He's brilliant. I told him that I wanted to do this, and what was the best way to memorize the Marine Corps birthday message, John A. Lejeune's message. And he said, okay, well, you go line by line, memorize that first line, go over it, and then add another one until you were you're fluid, add on. If you mess up, go back. And then, so learning that message, and then the logistics of that birthday ball too. Yeah. And you told me you told me you can't do this by yourself. You need to assemble a team, right? And we did. And if I ever learned delegation skills, it was during that time. We had 12 people. Each one of them had a job. And with that, the ball came together really well. And it freed me up to be able to work on that. I was really nervous when I was waiting out in the hallway for the ceremony to start. Mass Sergeant Van was back there. And I told him, like, this is what I normally do before I go do the message, and I haven't done that. And he's like, well, he's still in, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He picked up Master Guns too.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Master Guns. He gave me words of encouragement for sure. And said, like, it's gonna be okay. And yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I went out there, and I was so worried as I'm putting the sword into the hilt. Like, am I going to get it in? Like, I got like that much space to put the sword in. And then I did, as Tibasar was still talking. He was the narrator. And I was like, I got this. Like, this is, I had like a few seconds to gather myself, fortunately, and not having to like rush anything to put the sword in the hilt. And then, yeah, I just delivered when I have a recording of it, and I went back afterwards. Yeah, I went back afterwards, and I'm so overly critical of myself. I felt like I went too fast, but just kind of stunned everybody, like, holy moly, that happened. I delivered it memorized.
Listeners out there, if you're struggling and need some help, there's always a way to reach out. The VA has some great opportunities. You can dial 988, press option 1. You can also text, oh man, I messed it up, 939-288. You can text 939-288. You can also go to veteranscrisisline.net, click on that chat icon. Any of those options are going to get you to somebody that's going to be able to help you out. But one veteran life loss is one too many. I care about you. Corbin cares about you. The whole veteran community cares about you. So please reach out first. Corbin, one last time, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
All the listeners out there, stay motivated, change your socks.